What's going on, guys? Happy 4th of July and welcome back to 4K Motoring. I'm Chris. Today we're going to talk about your choice in summertime vehicles. Which one's really better? Is it a full-on convertible or is a Targa top more appropriate? We're going to discuss the benefits and drawbacks of each, so stay tuned and let's go for a drive. So obviously one of the clear advantages a convertible has to a Targa top is the fact that it is so easy to use. Now there are manual versions of these cars for sure, of these tops, but when it comes to something like this, that you can very quickly hit that and enjoy the top just coming down, it's hard to beat that with the Targa top. The Targa top requires really just so much more effort, even if it's just something as simple as flipping a few latches and lifting it out and moving it to the rear. It's not something you can do from just sitting in the driver's seat, especially sitting in the driver's seat while moving, that gives the convertible a clear advantage. So another pretty clear advantage to the overall convertible versus Targa experience, and that really applies to Targa and non-Targa tops, I believe, is the lack of a B-pillar. Really, that post that is right behind the driver's window, that catches a lot of wind when you're driving, and that wind makes noise. Whenever you kind of divert wind or make turbulence, generally you make noise, and that's where a convertible, with its lack of a B-pillar and more interior level of kind of crash protection, that really gives you a quieter riding experience and a more pleasant riding experience that I think is definitely gives the edge to the convertible as opposed to the Targa. The Targa is amazing because you can see through the roof, you get some sunlight in, at night you can see the stars. It's pretty cool and it's nice to be able to do that, but it comes at the cost of highway driving, something like that. It gets very, very noisy. So here we are recording through the GoPro, and you guys can pretty well at 50 miles an hour hear the overall noise in the cabin. Now the two cars aren't going to be exactly comparable because just the exhaust and engine noises and that sort of thing are not the same, but just taking into account the wind noise that we're experiencing, it's pretty clear that this is not unpleasant really by any means. You get a little bit of wind noise, especially out the passenger seat over here I'm hearing, but this is not bad at all for your daily drive. It's very enjoyable and nothing at all I would complain about. Now, some things to consider when talking about the full-on convertible as opposed to a Targa top. There's no big real halo or anything for your safety. You've got these little crash bars. Some cars have the kind of airbag type ones that explode up when they detect a rollover or something like that, that are normally hidden. There are, in modern convertibles, rollover protection, but it's this. And I know it's not a lot more than the full-on halo of the Targa, but it is a little bit lower, it's a little closer to you, and I really don't think that it offers a whole lot of protection in a rollover. And that's my personal opinion. Versus the full-on Targa top gives you just a little bit extra as far as protection goes. For looking at the cargo capacity as well, you know, I have no added benefit of a tall hatch or anything like that. The trunk is pretty low, and that is because it's a convertible. The Corvettes have the same issues. In the convertibles, you don't have that big tall glass that allows you to stick big things inside, and that can decrease total cargo space. The overall insulation is definitely an issue with the convertible as opposed to the Targa. With the convertible, it's a soft top, and that makes security sometimes questionable. It can make noise a little bit louder. Modern ones really is not that big a deal, but it is a consideration. And general heat and noise insulation, the modern ones have some insulation. They're a lot better than the original convertibles, but they're still not as capable as a true hardtop or Targa top would be in that respect. Overall, for daily drivers, the convertibles are really nice, really convenient, and pretty cool cars, I gotta be honest. but there are a few things that the Targa offers that the convertible doesn't, that we're gonna go check out now. So when it comes to something like the Targa top, there are a couple definite benefits of that system. Of course, you're going to have this B-pillar that's going to make some wind noise while you're driving, and that's just something you're going to have to live with as part of this trade-off, but you get a couple kind of key attributes that the convertible doesn't. First off, for protection, this halo is going to offer a little bit more clearance and a little wider range of rollover protection as opposed to those little kind of seat halo bars will. So as far as crash protection, this has a slight edge. In addition, when I have the top on, it's going to make a more solid contact between the roof line here and this halo back here to stiffen up the chassis noticeably. Now in the C5 and later generation Corvettes, that's really not as big a deal because the chassis itself, everything was designed as a convertible from the beginning, and with the torque tube and the way the chassis is shaped, it is very rigid just by itself. You don't get a whole lot of noticeable changes with the roof in place. But the C4 and earlier generations, there's a clear difference from when that roof is installed and when it's taken out to just feeling the frame flex a little bit and the whole chassis flex, that I think is really worth noting. So that's a definite benefit. If we look at the space that's offered to us in the back hatch here, there's a lot more room for cargo, something that you don't get with the convertible. I know the Boxster is mid-engine, so there's kind of a separation anyway as far as storage compartments go, but as far as, you know, just the ability to have more things in, if you can have a taller storage case, you're definitely going to have more room for cargo and equipment. Another key consideration of that big glass on the rear that convertibles don't have, you know, to the benefit of the Targa top, is that I have a pretty good amount of visibility to the rear of this vehicle. So when I look out the mirror, or if I turn my head, I can see a lot of what's going on around me. The convertible, especially the ones with the glass windows, they have usually a pretty small window. So if that top is up, you have a pretty limited view of the outside. You don't have a lot of side or blind spot visibility, and that can be kind of annoying from time to time. Obviously when the top is down, you have clear visibility everywhere. That's not an issue, much more than a Targa top would give you. But while the top is up, in those situations where it's cold, you don't want to mess up your hair, it's raining, whatever the issue is, you leave the top up, you definitely have a lot more going for you with the Targa top than you do with that straight convertible. Those that had the plastic windows, kind of the older generation convertibles, usually had a little bit bigger of a window, something that was a little bit more usable, but they were very picky about how they folded when you close the top, and they would often crack, and they would get scratches on them pretty easily, so visibility often became an issue with those as well. So we are back doing right about 50 miles an hour, about the same as the Boxster was. And the overall wind noise, I think you can appreciate. So putting the Targa top on and off is also where the convertible has the edge. Obviously the security of the Targa is usually a little bit greater, but it does come at the cost of having to get out of the car, not do it while moving, and especially on a hot day where the sun's beating down and everything, when you want to have, you know, roof on or off, touching it can be a burning experience. So we'll go ahead and put it on. And now I've got to put it on the car, finding the pins to lock it in. Making sure the weather stripping is not bound up anywhere, which is sometimes one of the more difficult parts of this. And make sure it's secured, because as many people know, about 60 miles an hour, unsecured roof, the wind will just rip it off and throw it in the car behind you, whether it's a state trooper or not. So with the top installed, we're gonna have a much more secure setup. It's harder to cut through this as opposed to a cloth soft top. It generally makes a better seal all the way around, obviously depending on weather strip condition. This car being 20 years old, the weather strip being manipulated all the time, it started to have some cracking and dry rotting that if it's not put in correctly and the weather strip aligned correctly, it can have some leaks. Convertible is really no different. They are prone to some of those same issues, so that's not really a win in either category. But overall, you guys can see the ability to seal up your cabin with a hard Targa top that you don't get with a convertible. So to answer the question overall, which is the better top to have, the Targa or the full convertible? Probably a hardtop convertible. So I know that's not something we talked about. I know looking at the new Corvette, for example, there is a hardtop option convertible that allows you, with a push of a button, staying in the car while moving at a slow speed, to remove that roof and still put it back up, and having that insulation, having that hard security, that sort of thing, kind of best of both worlds. And I think that's kind of where I'm at as far as giving my opinion, is that a hardtop convertible is truly the better option. Convertibles have a lot of things going for them. So do the regular hardtop Targas. Right in between, the hardtop convertibles seem to kind of bridge most of those gaps pretty well. Of course, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys at home think. Let me know what you guys have, convertibles or Targa tops, and if you've had issues with them or prefer one or the other. Love to hear about it. I'm sure everybody online would love to hear other opinions as well. As for me, like I said, hardtop convertible seems like the winner, and hopefully soon we'll be examining that firsthand. As always, appreciate you guys watching 4K Motoring. I'm Chris. Happy 4th of July, and we'll see you next time.